Okay, so let's start it again because there was no audio. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about our grip. We're going to talk about using our rebound to our advantage and using our fingers when we're working on double stroke rolls. I'm going to give you a basic outline of the mechanics of what I'm talking about a little bit later on. And then we're going to talk about how to get strong, powerful, even sounding doubles using a certain technique with our hands. But first, preliminary mixes are in from last weekend's recording session, and man, the couple of songs that I heard are absolutely killer. I could not be happier with the way the drums turned out, but overall, oh, pure fire. Overall, the first couple of songs I got back, start to finish, top to bottom, everybody involved sounded great. And Bob, the producer over at Code Blue Records, listen, that dude, he knows what the hell he's doing. Anyway, that sounded awesome. I'm super excited about it. But I want to get into some hand stuff that I've been working on for myself and with my students. And what we're going to end up doing is using a brand new feature here on the MarkZDrums, which I'm going to incorporate also into some lesson videos, as well as my online drumming course, which is going to be available soon on Patreon. This is a really cool, this is kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while. But let's go to the snare drum cam, and there we go. All right, what do you guys think of that? So here we have my Roland TD50KV2 drum set. This is kind of my view of what I see. You can see my monitors in the background over there. And I figured this is a good angle for like working on like hand stuff, talking about grip and whatnot. I have a couple of videos on grip already on my channel, but this I think is a better look when we're talking about exactly what I'm trying to convey and get across and show everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gotta lean over here. I'm going to get my Evans Real Feel pad, and I'm going to set it up over here. And so basically, think about the idea of bouncing a basketball. What happens when you bounce the basketball? You throw it towards the ground, it hits the ground, it rebounds up, and you catch it. Actually, yes, a basketball. But if you've ever had like a Spalding ball, those were very popular when I was young. There was the squishy kind of foam ball. Then there was the rubber ball that we would use for handball. You drop it, you throw it down, and you catch it. You throw it down, and you catch it. Right? And this is the motion when you are throwing a ball down to the ground and catching it. I guess we use the basketball because it's more of a continuous motion as we're dribbling the ball. We're not actually catching the basketball, but we're allowing the basketball to hit our hands and push our hands up before we then redirect that basketball down to the ground. So let's go back to snare drum view, drum pad view. Did it get darker, or what happened? What happened to the lights? Anyway, I installed some blackout curtains because there is an outside window in my studio, and I gotta tell you, it makes a huge heck of a difference because the natural light does not come in and change the way the shot looks. So anyway, all right, here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is the initial rebound when we hit the snare drum. Look at my fingers here. this is where we started. This is where we end up. So again, we start with the fingers gently wrapped around the stick, pulling it gently into the palm of our hand. We have the inside knuckle of the index finger on one side of the stick and the pad of our thumb on the other, creating a pivot point or a pinch point. Think about a seesaw, but a seesaw will have that pivot point in the center. For a drumstick, it's about 1/3 up the drumstick, right? Measure about 1/3 up the stick. That is the pivot point. The sticks are made for that kind of balance. There are some sticks that are weighted differently, where you'll have sticks that are weighted in the front more, sticks that are weighted in the back more, right? So it kind of changes this whole dynamic of the 1/3 up the stick, but then you can decide which way you want to go from there, right? So we start here with this pivot point, and then we gently wrap these fingers around, pulling the stick into the palm of our hand, right into this little V. This little V where the one side of the palm comes, the other side of the palm meets, and that line right there, boom, that's where we go, right? That's where we start. We bring the stick up with our wrist, and we drop the stick down. Not drop it out of your hand like I just did, but we drop the stick down, and here's what happens. Look what happens. The stick, I might want to get a wider shot with this GoPro. The stick pops up, and it actually pulls the fingers away from the palm of my hand. When that stick comes up, I'm not lifting that stick up. The rebound is pulling that stick up, pulling the fingers away, pulling the bottom of the stick away from the palm of my hand, and leaving me in this position. From here, we want to pull those fingers back in, and when I pull those fingers back in, what happens? The stick comes down, contacts the pad. The hand, because I'm pulling those fingers in, the wrist comes down, and we have that second hit on the stick. I mean on the pad. All right. So let me try this a little bit until I get a wider angle. So we come up, right? We bounce the stick. It pulls our fingers away, and then we pull these fingers back in to bring the stick back down, to redirect the stick back down to the pad. When we're doing that, right, the stick pulls the fingers out, and then as we pull the fingers in, you notice what happens. The hand moves up, right? The hand comes up from this position. The hand comes up, ready for another stroke, then up, then down, then up, then down. So what we're doing is we're dropping the stick. The rebound is pulling the fingers away from the palm, then we pull the fingers in, and at the same time we lift that hand up to get ready for the next stroke. So as the stick hits, it creates this angle where the stick is pointing almost to the ceiling. Sometimes it points to the ceiling, and then we pull that stick back in with the fingers, causing our wrists to drop and our hands to come back up, ready for the next stroke. So when the hand comes up, then we drop it again. So this helps for a number of reasons. Number one, it's making more of a fluid motion. It's getting 2 strokes out of 1 motion, dropping the hand down, then pulling it up and letting the stick come back into the palm of the hands, forcing it down to the pad for the second stroke. And now we're in a position as our hand comes up to bring it back down for the second note, and then the rebound. Okay, do that with the left hand as well. If you are like me and you are right hand dominant, you'll want to spend a little bit extra time with your left hand on this technique. Besides giving you that kind of fluid kind of motion where you can get a rhythm going with it, you're also going to notice that the notes sound similar in intensity and volume. And that's what we want. When we're doing our double stroke roll, we want the notes to be similar in intensity. We don't want a loud first note and a softer second note. That is what we're trying to avoid. We get that at first as we're working on this, but then eventually we want to have both notes of each double to be as close to the same intensity as possible. All right, so work on that with the left hand. I still have work to do getting that rebound on the left hand. But again, we work on this slowly and it gets better. And it gets better over time. This is one of those things that you have to have a certain amount of patience. This is not one of those things that, boom, it's going to happen right away and you're going to be great at it immediately and you know, you're going to be super happy with yourself. We must be patient with some of these things. There are some things certainly that, boom, you're going to roll right through and you're going to be like, wow, that was easy. And that's a great feeling too. But when it doesn't happen like that, we want to make sure that we stay patient with ourselves, allow ourselves the time that we need to learn what we're trying to learn. And more importantly, allow our bodies and our minds to get used to maybe a new technique, maybe a new way of doing something. It's going to take a little while, but we adapt. Our brains, our bodies adapt very quickly. So I encourage you to, if this is a technique you're interested in working on more, learning more about, I'll certainly talk more about it in coming shows, but I just wanted to give you an introduction to the drop, and I don't even know what it's called, right? But you drop the stick down, let it pop up, bring it down with the fingers, up, down, and then the idea is that we really don't want to, right, let's go back to the basketball analogy. We do not hold on to the ball and bring it all the way to the ground and touch the ground and then pull the ball back up. We don't do that. We let the ball and the rebound do all the work. And we just control that ball when it comes up and redirect it back down to the ground. That's what we're doing with our drumsticks. We are hitting the drumstick. When the rebound happens, we are catching that stick, and then using the fingers and the wrist, we are redirecting that stick back to the pad for another stroke. And then the process starts over again. Over again. Where we're dropping that stick, allowing the rebound to bring the stick back up, where we can then redirect it to the pad. And that takes a lot of the work away from us. Takes a lot of the effort away. And this is one of the things that when we talk about techniques like this, one of the biggest advantages of doing this is that we have less work to do. We're doing less physical work to get that stick to move the way we want it to. We're allowing that natural rebound to do most of that work so that we don't have to lift the stick up and down every time throughout the process of playing. We're letting that rebound just kind of bounce up, and we're taking advantage of that energy and then redirecting it back down. That's one of the biggest things. We can build speed this way because we're not tensing up. We're not pushing as hard as we can to get that speed. We're actually using the technique of the motion of the stick and the wrist and the hand to generate some kind of a power, the rebound, that we're going to use to get that speed going. Rebound is super important when we are wanting to play for a long time, wanting to play louder, faster. There's no effort here in what I'm doing. In fact, I'm probably efforting even too much here. But when you use this kind of method and you use that rebound to your advantage, there's no fatigue. You know, certainly after a while you might fatigue, but there's no tensing of the muscles, there's no getting tired, there's no fatigue, there's no burning out, there's no muscle burn, because it's just a very fluid motion that we're making happen and using that natural rebound. So if you've got any questions, go ahead and feel free to hit me up on any of my socials or over here on YouTube. I will see you guys on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Take care.